So, the third film in Marvel's 2025 public opinion rebound bonanza is finally here. Fantastic Four First Steps. Things got off to a pretty rocky start with the Incredible Hulk 2 back in February. Thunderbolts was actually pretty good, but no one saw it. And now all Kevin Feige has got left in the tank to make this year a success is yet another reboot of the Fantastic Four. Marvel's third-ish favorite superhero team. I've been saying this with all my comic book movie videos recently, but this year really has been a giant referendum on the long-term viability of superhero films as premier blockbusters, each one seemingly feeling more pressure than the last to not only make back their money, of course, but more importantly, to win back public faith in these brands that have taken quite a massive hit in recent years. And for Marvel especially, with Cap 4 and Thunderbolts not exactly, breaking the bank at the box office, they really need this one to work, more so than virtually any of their projects in the last few years. The hype train for Doomsday has to build, or this whole thing is gonna go belly up before too long. So how'd they do? Well, pretty good for the most part. It's kind of a mixed bag. In a lot of ways, this movie is just like virtually all MCU films. It's easy to watch, it's fairly safe, it's inoffensive. There's clearly a lot of work put in to make it accessible to the most amount of people. It's got that Disney gloss overcoat all over it, which, while good for box office viability, does give the films this very samey level of quality, in a way where this is neither better or worse than like the bulk of the MCU catalog. It's not at the top with Guardians or Infinity War and Endgame or Winter Soldier, but it's certainly not at the bottom with Quantumania or Eternals or Brave New World or any of those. It's kind of just in that big middle chunk of perfectly manufactured 7 to 8 out of 10s. This is the case for most of the movies that introduce new characters into this universe. They always take a lot of time and effort to make sure that these ones do not suck, and to their credit, it almost always works out that way, but it also means that they end up meddling far too much in their productions for them to stand out or have a voice, unlike, say, Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 1, that has this very distinct style and vision and feels like it's made by one guy. This is not that by any means. For better or for worse, this is clearly a movie with studio fingerprints all over it. Not in a way where it's a mess or even bad really, but just that it's very manicured by the higher-ups. Hence why they got a guy like Matt Shakman to direct. No disrespect to that guy, clearly he's capable of helming a production, and Love Me Some Sunny, which he's done a whole lot of, but he's not there to imprint his unique vision onto this movie. That is Kevin's job. I will say though that unlike your typical MCU film, this one does actually have some real style to it, not so much in the direction, that's all pretty boilerplate MCU, but they do really lean into that classic retro 60s Silver Age vibe, and to me that is what really carries this movie. Much like Superman, this is an unashamedly comic book inspired film that has no issue diving headfirst into the silliness or zaniness of comics. They all have their classic costumes on, they all go by their superhero names, same goes for the villains that are mentioned or pop up here and there, they say their catchphrases, hell, even the way characters approach solutions to problems feels like something straight out of the Silver Age of comics. It is very much not a modern world, in any way, not in how the characters act, not in how the general public in the movie acts, not in how things are designed in the movie. It is a different Earth in most every way. Like, no spoilers, but the idea Mr. Fantastic has to save the day in the third act of this was just so goofy and so old school and so of a different time that I just loved it so much. That stuff all works really well, and while it's all retro and silly, none of it is treated unseriously or like farmed for jokes. The usual Marvel jokes are in there, of course, but they're all character-based, and there aren't any of the ones that we all hate where they poke fun at the fact that everyone is a costume superhero with a silly-ass name. There is none of that shit. It isn't like fucking Thor Love and Thunder or anything like that. It's all just different enough to be of its own world, but you still relate to the characters all the same. And that is the next thing I want to get to. Do the characters in this movie work? Yes. Are they a bit shallow? Yeah. I'd say it goes like this. Sue and Reed have the most attention by far and are fleshed out overall pretty well, especially Sue. She certainly has the most stuff going on by a mile, and I think her and Reed's dynamic does work, which you had to get right, and this does that. So Big points for that. But then you get to Ben and Johnny, and while they're definitely likable, for sure, they also don't really have much character stuff going on, like, at all. You get some cliff notes of who they are at the beginning, but it only goes like an inch deep. Like, if I had to describe Johnny in this, I would say he's a nice, good guy that's a bit scatterbrained and silly, which works, and you know, he's a fun character, but there's just nothing else there. And then Ben has a couple of scenes with Natasha Lyonne's character where they were clearly trying to do some of that classic Thing stuff where he's sad that he's a rock monster that doesn't get to fuck, but there's only like 2 scenes of that, and it doesn't really go anywhere because there's just no time for it. Like, it feels weirdly edited at times, like they just cut out so much of personal content for all of these characters. Again, like Johnny, very likable, but the character is just not particularly interesting beyond that. Now, they're certainly all casted quite well, and much like most MCU films, that is what helps elevate this to a good spot. Sarah Haley Finn, low-key, has kept this ship afloat for years now because they always seemingly know just who to get for these roles, and with average to mediocre scripts like this, you really need some charismatic ass people, and this movie is no different. Hell, they even took a chance on struggling actor Pedro Pascal. Sure am glad he's getting some work. But yeah, overall though, I did just want a bit more exploration of these characters. They all felt just a bit lacking to me. I mean, coming off of Superman, where you get such a great deep dive into Clark Kent, the 4 by comparison just feel so much more shallow. They all look the part, sound the part, say the right stuff, are very likable, but there was just some element missing from them. That extra layer characters like Tony Stark or Steve Rogers have, a sort of sad, relatable core to them that makes them feel very real and very human. That part is just not in this movie. CGI is also really hit or miss in this, like The Thing, Human Torch, Mr. Fantastic Stretching, Galactus, Silver Surfer, Herbie, the cityscapes all look really good and sharp and polished and stylized, and it blends really well with the color palette of the film, but then randomly in some scenes it will be like noticeably awful, like to the point where it's genuinely distracting. Some shots look so obviously shot in a green screen box in this, and worst of all, light spoilers, little baby Franklin Richards looks like the Twilight baby come again. For some reason, this baby is CGI and it looks fucking awful. I do not bring up Renesmee lightly, okay? This is the same cursed work and I do not get why at all. Like, for all the crap you can talk about the Twilight baby back in the day, there was an in-movie reason why that particular character was so hard to do as a regular actor, but Franklin in this is literally just a normal ass baby. He doesn't need to do anything but just be a baby and just kinda sit around. He doesn't do anything. I don't know, maybe there's some reason for it that I simply can't understand, who fucking knows, but I don't see why this had to be CG. It is so distracting and looks so bad relative to the otherwise great looking CG elsewhere in the film. Like, there are numerous scenes in this where the Thing is holding Franklin in his arms, and the Thing is this like wonderfully looking CGI character holding a terrible looking CGI character, and the blend of it just makes your eyes hurt. Like, it doesn't look natural at all. It like is genuinely weird to look at. The whole thing is just fucked. I don't get why they had to do it this way. Whatever though. I realize a lot of this video is coming off mostly negative towards the movie, but I do have an overall positive opinion on it. It's a lot of fun and looks great for the most part and feels much more distinct and unique than most of the recent MCU installments, but I just think there was something missing about it that I can't quite put my finger on. Maybe it's just the Superman effect, but I think I was just expecting more from it than I ended up getting. Like, when you give me something this distinct and unique and new in the MCU, my expectations automatically get raised to a place where I don't see it the same way I do a Cap 4 or a Thunderbolts. You go down the retro 60s Silver Age rabbit hole, and I'm expecting something just a bit more polished and a bit more sharp and with more depth. Maybe that's unfair, but I just wanted more out of this than I got. As is, it's still good and I think is an overall good sign for the MCU, at least I hope so, but not one of my favorites. As far as the 2025 Cape Shit Roundup though, I'd go Superman first with a bullet, then a gap, and then I'd have this and Thunderbolts around that same level of good not great, and then a giant gap and way at the bottom, Cap 4, which only seems worse in hindsight. So it might not seem like a total knockout year for the genre because, well, it wasn't, but considering there weren't any Sony films this year, that is a major improvement by itself no matter what Disney or WB did, and for the first time, maybe ever, I think both Marvel and DC appear to be on the right track. Where it takes them, only time will tell, but at least for now, we finally have an unironically good version of the Fantastic Four on screen. Only took them 4 tries, but hey, I guess that kind of makes sense. It is in the name after all. Here's hoping they don't fuck up Doomsday. Fingers crossed, people.